I'm Doug Brazil, winemaker at Chateau Faire Winery. Chateau Faire is a winery that my wife and I started in 2004. Faire le Pont means bridging the gap. It's a term the French use when a holiday falls midweek. They're having such a good time, they just extend it through the week. I was a helicopter pilot in the Navy for 21 and a half years, almost 22 years. And in my travels, I fell in love with wine, actually in Chile. When I was in Chile, it was my first time I ever really started noticing wine. And I had some wine at a reception that I loved so much, I went out and found the winery and talked to the winemaker, even though he didn't speak English and I didn't speak Spanish. But he gave me a tour and gave me a barrel tasting, and I was hooked for life. And after that, Deb and I, wherever we went, we would kind of focus our attention and all on the wineries in the area. We'd tour wineries, and we were starting to collect wine, cook with wine, read about it, study it, make it at home. For about 5 years before I got into this, I made wine at home. And then when I was getting ready to retire, my wife said, now or never, and we both thought this would be the best time to try it, so we jumped in with both feet, and 6 or 7 years later, here we are, still going strong. We're up to about 3,500 cases a year right now, and our focus is mainly on the red blends. We do a Bordeaux style blend, a Rhone style blend, and a Super Tuscan style blend that are our big three. Red wines then would be our major focus, but we also do whites, and occasionally we'll do an ice wine if the conditions are right. And you know, we're a full tasting room winery, so we'd like to offer a full spectrum of the wines to our customers. And we also have a restaurant that you can see in the back, so we need a full spectrum of wines to be enjoyed with your meal.
I believe that you were the first on-premise restaurant for a winery in Washington State, which would make you a pioneer of sorts. But what made you kind of be so prescient in realizing that this was going to work out for you business-wise?
Well, we always felt like wine was food, and the natural follow-on would be to have food available for our customers. So when we opened, we focused on the wine first, and once we got our production up and comfortable with that, we started looking at integrating events, weddings, things like that. And with that, we used caterers, usually outside caterers. So we built a professional kitchen so that we could have on-site catering. And once we had the catering kitchen in place, we had some chefs look at it and say, why don't you have a restaurant? And that was always our dream anyway. So we finally found the right chef a few years ago and started the restaurant. And then recently we've hired a new chef and kicked it up a notch, and we've got the kind of food that we think pairs well with our wines and really adds to everybody's enjoyment. Yeah, Richard Kitos is his name, and he's a chef from LA, and he worked for a consortium in LA that ran 3 different restaurants and a couple of different catering companies. He was the executive chef for the whole thing. Yeah, his wife was from this area, and they have 3 little girls now, just had the 3rd, and they were looking for a quality of life change. Wanted to be somewhere out of the rat race, away from LA, and Wenatchee was where they wanted to be, but they only could come here. They have a B&B here, but he could only come here if there was something that would, an opportunity like this, where he could work and make a living. And I think you're going to see some really good things from Richard. He's doing a great job for us. We love this area. It's beautiful here. There's Lake Chelan is not far. Leavenworth is right around the corner. We have skiing at Mission Ridge. The Columbia River is right outside of our winery. So it is a all-season outdoor enthusiast area. It's also sort of the center of the state and a center of activity for this region. And it's growing and changing as we speak. It used to be focused mainly on apple production, but lately you're seeing an increased number of wineries, and with the wineries comes change, and we think change for good. We use some of the best growers in the state. We use Steve Ellerding down in Alderdale, and we source Cab and some odds and ends like Petit Verdot and Malbec from him. Our main source of grapes comes from the Walloop Slope, Mattawa area, and we use two different growers there. It's Milbrandt Brothers. We get Syrah, Merlot, Viognier, Pinot Noir, Pinot Gris from them. And we also use Riverbend Vineyards, which is Mike Wade's vineyard from Fielden Hills. And for that, we get Merlot, Cab Franc, Cab, and Syrah. Yeah, my wife worked with Stan's wife before we got into the winery business. And one day they were talking, and Deb told his wife that we'd like to open a winery. And she said, well, you have to meet my husband. And Stan Clark was the most gracious fellow I'd ever run across. We tried to hire him as a consultant to help us source grapes. He refused payment. We finally paid him with a little wine, but that's all he would take. And he spent days with us. We toured a lot of vineyards. I walked a lot of rows of vines, and he would tell me why one particular site was good and why one particular site was not where you wanted to source grapes from. And he was able to help me source premium quality raw material to start our winery, and that I think is the key. You can't, everybody says you can't make good wine with bad grapes, but it's even above that. You have to have the ultra premium quality grapes if you strive to make an ultra premium quality wine, which is what we're trying to do here.